Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight. And welcome to Nostalgia, a chronological exploration of every NES game released in North America. I'm Mike.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Joe.
I said 2010. Do you think people were doing that back then? Was it actually Street Fighter 2010?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say 2010.
Really?
Oh, you're not even doing the N10.
2010, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would have been. Now, the more I'm thinking about it, I guess it would have been 2000, because 2000 was like, that was the sexy future title. 2000, No, 2010, maybe not, but that's what I called it, was 2010. Last week when I first heard of this game.
It's just funny because we were doing 1990 just fine, right? Like you just take the two digits together and you just say those.
Yeah, I was
separately.
kind of annoyed by the whole 2013. Like people would say that. I was like, just say 2013. It's fine.
I used to say I was born in 1990.
Obviously, because that was like the common parlance at the time.
And
right.
Imagine telling your kids that. I was born in 1990.
And do I get a weird Southern accent when I get older? I move to the South.
You'll get there.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody. Legally. Also, 2010 in 1990 is only 20 years away. That's my math. Good math on that.
That is good.
What are they expecting to happen? This is not that far in the future.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up. Were we talking about this on the podcast recently? I was talking to someone about, why doesn't anyone just, really just bet, you can make it as far out as you want, and then you never get proven wrong.
I will say that when I was younger, I'd think that we'd be, I think what happened is that we had that kind of technological, stuff happen. It just happened in the worst possible corners of technology. And I think if we focused a bit more on having cool robots that shoot weird balls that hurt you, then we would have been there. We would have gotten there.
They're called
by
drones.
2010. Exactly. Yeah.
We have those. We're just not using them on Americans.
Not yet.
I mean, that could age poorly, but I don't think so. Anyway, 2010 isn't even the scoop here, so I don't know why we're focusing on it. The real scoop, of course, is that this is a Street Fighter game. You heard that right. Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight, which is funny because there was only one Street Fighter before this, and it was not called Street Fighter 1. It was just called Street Fighter. But it's kind of funny to think that they were like, we should expand this very successful franchise, of which we've made one game so far, and we should make another iteration that's not a fighting game, but is some kind of action platformer, shooting game. And let's also make it The Final Fight. So this way there's no ambiguity about whether we're going to continue this franchise or not. They really planted a bunch of different flags in here. And I don't know how much you guys know about Street Fighter or not, but almost nothing in this game is reminiscent of Street Fighter other than the fact that the main character's name is Ken, and obviously Ken is one of the original Street Fighter characters.
Well, I know very little about Street Fighter. I will say up until this moment, I was not aware that this is only the second game in the Street Fighter series.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that this was a much weirder departure. I thought Street Fighter had been established as a series already, and then they were like, oh, here's this. So now it's still very weird, but it's not. We've seen this with so many other genres where the second game is just completely not the same thing as the first game.
Yeah, if you take it from that context that we've kind of, I guess, just observed, this is totally normal. And I think that we're having, at least Mike and I, maybe not Joe, we are letting our future knowledge of the series sort of color our expectation here but none of that shit happened yet.
Yeah, and I think I'm letting that happen too. Maybe even more so because I've never played them, but of course, I'm familiar with them. So like, I'm just like, yeah, it's a fighting game, and I'm just thinking of everything I know about all fighting games, and then I'm playing this, and I'm like, this is nothing like what I've always thought Street Fighter was.
Well, even Street
There's
Fighter
not even any
is nothing
streets.
like what you'd think Street Fighter is. So
Yeah, that's a good point, Sean, and I think that's worth saying, is that Street Fighter 1 is not Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 is the one that changes fighting games forever, changes arcades forever. So that hadn't happened yet, so it's also totally fine. Again, whether you notice the NES trend of like, well, the second game's always a little bit different, it's just also fine that they're like experimenting. I mean, it's Capcom, right? So they're just like figuring out what to do as a company even. And so a side-scrolling action platformer that's not a fighting game, that's not really a franchise yet, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just like you kind of want more of like, I guess, what was in the street. Like, because it takes place in the future and there's all these aliens and stuff, it's not really that close to even like being part of Street Fighter, even if it is just, Street Fighter but a different genre. It's like, this isn't even really like that world.
no, we get one offhanded comment in the opening crawl that said, Ken, he won the Street Fighter tournament, and then he put that all behind him, and then he got his degree, and then he became a mad scientist, I guess, or at least like a part of a mad scientist duo. And so, yeah, like all of that's put behind him. Like Ryu isn't in it. That's the only other Street Fighter character that we would know at this point. And
You
he's
say
not
Ryu.
there.
You say Ryu.
What should I say?
I would think Ryu.
Whatever. Ryu, potato.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I actually like, that's a hot take in my opinion, calling him Ryu. I don't know if it is or not, but like I've never heard
Maybe
it
it
that
is.
way. No, I like it.
I don't really talk about Street Fighter with people that often.
We're here for the hot takes. No, I still don't know how to say the other guy's name.
Ken.
Gile?
Dulcim?
Gile?
Guile?
Guile? Yeah.
Colonel
it's like,
Guile?
Yeah, I was doing Gile for like the longest time. I was like, huh?
Blanca?
Who's that guy? He's got the best theme though.
He's got the best biceps too.
Oh, okay. Not Chun-Li. She's got the best thighs.
No, that's best thighs.
All right. Yeah, they should have made a Chun-Li side-scrolling game, but whatever. We're here to talk about Street Fighter 2010 as a little reminder for everybody. Sean, you were talking about all that plot stuff that they dump on you. Were you talking about that part of the game that's as soon as you boot it up and it says a little background?
Yeah,
And then hits you with like an impossible amount of text that you're like, there's a little bit of background? Like, I thought it would be like one screen of just like, you're Ken, your best friend Troy has gone missing, find him. But instead it's like, it's 2010, interplanetary travel is now like a thing. Ken, who was a martial artist, is now a scientist. His partner Troy has been murdered, and cyboplasm, as if we're supposed to know what that is, has been stolen. So Ken is going to go on a galactic manhunt to find it all. Okay.
And didn't Ken like invent the cyboplasm too?
I wasn't clear if he invented it or if Troy invented it.
Well, I think, they're partners and best friends, so one would argue that, maybe they both had a hand in it.
I just would think that Ken wouldn't be okay with that because isn't the cyboplasm what's also making all of these weird aliens that
but
you're fighting?
if you read the deep lore, it's only if you overdose on it. Like in small doses.
So what are you small dosing? Is it just a drug, or like what do you get out of small?
It's a cyboplasm.
Doses?
It's
a cyboplasm. Yeah.
And when you take small amounts of it, it makes you live longer and be better and healthy. But if you overdose on it, then you turn into a superhuman evil guy or even a super alien evil guy.
I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the this opening crawl here gives you everything you need to know. I particularly enjoy how the first couple sentences kind of remind me of like a middle school, high school, like English class writing exercise opening where it's like Ken had no interest in the frontier. Then his partner Troy was killed. Or maybe even more like a young adult novel, the back of the book would start like this.
Yeah, it's very it's like very surface level edgy.
Yeah.
So the game has many stages, but each stage isn't like a traditional side-scrolling platformer level. You do have to do some platforming and find your way around it, but there isn't like a you start here, find the exit. Instead, you're greeted with a screen right before each level starts of which enemy is basically your boss. It's referred to as your target, the one you have to eliminate in order for the I don't know, like the warp zone to open up to progress to the next stage. So it, in some senses, like there are other enemies and there's platforming to do, but a lot of it is just trying to fight like the particular boss of that stage as fast as possible and getting out of there, because there's no like, missable items or a currency to acquire. It really is just take down the target and move on. So I guess they were trying to mimic like the idea of like Street Fighter, like this is your opponent for this, like this round one, like and you have to beat them in order to move on. They're still kind of bringing that element of it into the game.
I guess
it feels like you kind of have like they're trying to go for this, like each level, at least at first, is like this arena that you have to fight this guy in, or this like landscape, or it's almost like a boss rush at first, it seems like. I mean, then later on it branches out into other things too. But it's like the first level is like, oh, this looks like a level, but there's just this boss running around the whole level. Granted, it's small, but it's like a cutout of a platformer with a boss battle going on in it.
Yeah, one thing that I had to do immediately upon booting this game up was just put it out of my mind that this was Street Fighter, because I would be bending over backwards trying to make connections between them and like, oh, it's kind of a no, I guess, yeah, they're more arenas. I think that's a good way to describe it, but it's not even like an arena for a boss. Like there are levels where your target, because it tells you in the beginning of each level, here's your target. It could be a boss-like enemy, but it also could be like a regular mob that you just have to kill a bunch of, and they play around with that like layout a lot. Like it could be, as you were describing, like kind of a cross section of a platformer level. It could be a literal arena, like in a basement Fight Club situation. It could be an auto scroller. It could be some like Trapper Keeper dimension where you fight frogs. Like it plays around with that format pretty regularly.
And the target enemies from the beginning are pretty strong, and it's not that they have like versatile movesets or that they're treated like boss fights. They are just kind of enemies that have a particular attack pattern, and you just have to deal with it. But Ken, it's like you're given a lot of the tools, not everything that he can do, but you're given a lot of tools at the beginning. But it's not something that like you would know at first, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like you're not good with Ken right away. So the bosses or the target enemies are very tough, but Ken doesn't feel particularly strong. If anything, it's like his projectiles like disappear like just too close to where they should. Like if they just extended out the whole screen, it would be a little bit better. Or the range of his jump and stuff like that. Like he just doesn't have a great move set until you learn how to use it, which is something you need to do like instantly. You instantly have to know how to use everything that he can do, because it will affect your enjoyment with this game.
Yeah, like you guys were mentioning the like lack of pickups or the lack of like a currency or something, and that kind of exists in like little upgrades to enhance the just the range and power of your attacks. Like you end up becoming pretty overpowered with those upgrades, but yeah, you start off just having to kind of master this very non-standard moveset. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I mean, I was just going to say that I kind of wish that there was like another mode to this game. Like there was story mode and there was maybe just like battle mode or arena mode where you can kind of get used to your move set before you just jump into this. Like, there's not even a menu. The game just starts. So like I don't know. I feel like so many games like this just have that kind of random, almost arbitrary like practice mode or like just one-on-one fight mode. And I think in this case, it would be kind of useful just to kind of get my bearings.
But I think, it doesn't take too long to get a feel for it. I mean, he's very acrobatic. At first, it feels a little too complex, and then you start to get the hang of things. You start to understand, like, oh, if I jump in this particular way, I actually do a backflip, which if I also hit fire at the top of that backflip, I can shoot down, which is really helpful because I can't shoot down in any other circumstance. So yeah, I mean, you get the hang of it.
Yeah, and it does feel good to control. Like it's not floaty, and it's not like, honestly, looking at it, it looks really cool to watch someone else play that's good at it. But I'm not sure by looking at it, like, is this going to be one of those games that's kind of clunky? But when you play it, it does feel very responsive, and you do feel kind of badass when you can pull things off.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was trying to say, but I just couldn't do it as well as you did, Joe, is that, like, your instinct might be to just attack the enemy, right? Like, just get in their face, shoot your projectiles, and you're just kind of jumping and shooting like you would in maybe like a Contra or something. But Ken can do backflips. He can hang on to the walls. He can like have different ways to basically scale these platforms.
A little bit of pole dancing in there.
Yeah, sure, why not? But like all those things help because you're really not supposed to be like super aggressive on these enemies because they will hurt you back and you don't have a lot of health. So it's better to like learn about how to use the backflips, and later like you get that one projectile that kind of like swings around you in an arc, and it's like it's very important to like learn that arc so this way you can deal with enemies from behind you and stuff. Like you wind up having a pretty versatile move set. It's just that at first you're probably just thinking it's a run and gun, where it's really more about not the dodging of it, but the platforming itself plays a large role.
Yeah, and actually particularly because the way the punch or like the projectile, whatever, works at the beginning where it doesn't go very far, I didn't even really consider it a projectile, even though technically it is. To me, it looked, animation-wise, it looked like it was your punch with this like extra kind of anime slice that comes out of each jab.
That makes sense because there's also like a kicking one, right?
Yes, yeah, and that kick, that's the one I think we were talking about, that arc.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's the coolest looking thing.
I thought it was really cool until you described it as anime.
Sorry, I ruined it for you.
Yeah.
So after you defeat the target enemy in a stage, you'll gather enough energy to open up the portal to the next stage. You have to enter that portal before the timer runs out, but the timer is really just like the amount of time that there's no like countdown clock. It's just the gate itself. But I like that portal sound effect, like all the music stops and it's like this glowing sound of just like this humming thing, and it does have a sense of urgency to it. But I will admit that like the first time a gate opened up, I just didn't know about the timer and I just timed out.
Yeah, that's stupid. I think that's really stupid. There is an actual timer like in the bottom right too.
Oh, okay.
No,
so but is that for the portal?
Run out of time at. I mean, the portal has its own timer, I think, but you can also run out of time in the regular the regular level, and then you just kind of die and have to start over. I don't really understand why this game has a timer. I guess we've always kind of had a question about that.
Yeah, I don't understand why any game that's had a timer that we've ever played has a timer.
But they cut it close here. Like in Mario, like you can forget that there's a timer.
Yeah,
because they give you way too much
time.
It's like
240 seconds.
Yeah,
or something.
But you can cut it pretty close in this game.
Yeah, I'm never. I mean, I shouldn't say never. I mean, there's probably a time and a place for a timer in a game, but I just feel like we were just throwing them around willy-nilly back then, where it's just a platform, I put a timer on it. I don't understand.
Might be the first game with 2 timers.
Yeah, really.
Overlapping timers.
But that first portal timer, that got me too. And I did suspect at a moment, like, is there a timer going on? But I didn't know what I was supposed to do because and that's the only time I really remember the portal appearing somewhere that wasn't right in front of me. So I was just like, well, do I go to the right? Do I go to the left? And the portal was like down below.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, is that what the sort of gameplay loop is like you defeat the guy and then you have to find the portal before the time runs out? But that didn't really, at least for as far as I played, that didn't really come back again. Every other time the portal just appeared right in front of me and the time limit was kind of arbitrary.
I guess on paper, the whole get to the teleportation zone in time is supposed to like make you think about where you are on the level at any given moment and be able to have that memory of the map and to search and then just to know once you've failed a couple times. But I just don't understand what it's adding. Like that's how I see it on paper, but I don't think it's actually adding anything to this experience.
Mm.
So when are they going to add, classic enemies like Krustak and Slagma to the Street Fighter roster?
Who are those people?
These are just enemies in the manual, but it's like so funny because it's just like, again, like that's a good deep cut though, right? Like I feel like there's this one guy named Basher, like get him in there, Street Fighter 7, let's go.
I mean, I'll be honest
Troy.
now. any Street Fighter that I play from this point forward, I'm gonna be like, this doesn't feel like Street Fighter to me.
Yeah, that's so nuts. You would piss off so many people. That's great. Most of the levels are either like, traditional platforming stages or single screen stages with like a boss fight. But occasionally you'll get the auto scrolling levels, and I just have to point my frustration at the very first one because it requires like near perfect timing to clear the area for the auto scrolling, because basically what it does is it makes it so that within the period that the camera is scrolling, you need to go all the way to the right of the screen, jump up a platform, go all the way to the left of the screen, jump up a platform, and go all the way to the right of the screen again. And there are things in your way at the same time. Obviously, you have to shoot those things out of the way. Not a big deal. Obviously, it's a platformer. You should have to jump on the, reach these various levels. But the scrolling, if you didn't start at the, like, hugging the right side of the wall when that part of the level appears, you will just be crushed by the level. And that's a pretty bad design.
Yeah, there are a few moments in this where I feel like it's designed in a sense that you couldn't possibly do it without lucking into it on your first try. Where I'm walking and it's a straight path and there's a ceiling above me with an opening that I wouldn't need to go through because there's a straight path, and suddenly wall appears in front of me. I got to get to that ceiling, but I had to have been positioned already in a spot where I can get to that ceiling in time if I didn't know the wall was coming.
I guess the balance here is that you do end up just starting over, like right there if you were to die on that first like turn, I guess. But I don't think that's a perfect excuse, because any kind of upgrades that you've gotten to make your projectiles actual projectiles instead of that God forbid anime punch that we were describing before, you're just going to go back to that. Like you've lost all your power, and now you got to do it again in a weaker state. So it's not great, but it's not the worst sin.
There's another funny auto-scrolling thing. I think it's in the second auto-scroller, actually. The second auto-scroller, instead of it being a horizontal scroller, it's a vertical auto-scroller. And it looks like it's like waterfalls or something, but Ken can hug onto those and climb up the water. So he's climbing on water.
that brown shit.
Yeah, like was it sand? But even still, like he's climbing up falling sand. Like it's pretty strong.
Don't they understand the concept of liquefaction?
Write that down, Joe.
Done.
God damn it.
The answers in the 400th episode are going to be all Sean.
That'll be the twist.
Come on, haven't you guys seen Dune?
No.
Come on.
I have.
Yeah, it's like a sandworm thing. Doesn't matter. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, there was no sandworms in this. I guess there were actually, though. What were those There was that one desert level that's a
Yeah,
vertical.
there was like an enemy that was a sandworm, or like a worm at least.
Yeah, he was
like
a worm. He
target.
Yeah. He was
Yeah,
like
no
a
sand.
worm.
He was like a little bit like the cactus thing from Super Mario. I was almost saying Cactuar, which is from Final Fantasy. So no, the cactus enemy from Super Mario, where if you shoot the like head, it kills the whole thing, but if you shoot the tail, it slowly like you could jump at the bits.
Like any worm/snake in an NES game.
Huh? Mario didn't invent anything. Sometimes when you enter a warp zone, you don't go right to the next stage. You go to like I don't want to call it a bonus level. It's kind of like an interlude or like a little break, but like it still matters and it's still something that happens. And like those sometimes like will have previous bosses that you fight and they just like keep appearing. You have to like fend them off or whatever. It's like I don't like that.
Well, why?
I don't need like a test of agility after I just beat. Like, the whole game is like a boss rush if you think about it.
Yeah, Joe kind of said that, right? I mean, I think the thing is, it's a trope where, you know, this early boss that you thought of as really tough in the beginning has been like demoted down to a regular mob, and like now that's sort of showing like, oh, I've got some mastery going on here. Like this didn't take much at all. That's kind of at least how I see it. What I find confusing is that they'll do those little like stopover hops and there's nothing there. It's just you get out of the teleportation bubble and then you jump into another one immediately after.
You also mentioned the I don't remember what you called it, the warp zone or something. But I do have to bring up, maybe my favorite thing about this game is the method of interplanetary travel, where
you just kind of plop on them.
You just sort of like go from one planet, it just goes like, and you just like with no
like
fanfare at all, it just like spits you right into the other planet. You just splat into it. It's like they put no thought into like how would a spaceship move or anything. They're just act like you're throwing a wet paper towel at a wall. Like, that's
exactly
what it'll look
I was
like.
thinking too.
And obviously, we have to finish the plot here with Ken trying to track down Troy's murderer. There are some cutscenes throughout where you just see like the eye of this guy who's talking to you, and it's like, is he in the room with you and then he like leaves, or is this like two people on like a phone call kind of thing where we just don't see the diagonal, you know? Like, I'm not sure how they're talking to one another. Maybe he's like in his head or something.
Troy's trying to make contact with me.
Oh, but we don't know it's Troy yet, right?
Oh, that's true. We not yet.
So that's okay. You just spoiled it. No big deal. But at the end of the game, yeah, it is revealed to be Troy. But did anyone have their doubts? Did anyone think, like, I wonder who that could be? They're going to just, like, introduce another random person you never heard of? Like, of course it's going to be Troy.
It could have been either one. I don't have much respect for these stories at this point in video game history.
They gave us a little background, though, and the only character they have other mentioned besides Ken is Troy. So it's like, if you're going to, at least set up, like, who is the big bad, right? So if there's no big bad set up, why not Troy? And so Troy reveals that Ken has been he's been injected with cyboplasm himself. And during this sequence, when he's revealing that, I don't know if you guys got this far. I did not, but I did watch the YouTube long play, and it's like a version of the Jaws theme is playing in the background, a little like dun dun, which is fun, right? As it's being revealed. But then also, like, Troy's revealing that, of course, Ken wouldn't remember that he was secretly dosed with the cyboplasm because he erased his memory. So it's, like, enough that we have the Jaws thing, but then we got, like, a Total Recall thing going on as well. Like, it's just a lot of movie stuff all at once.
I guess, like, he could have also been sleeping. It's not too much of a... it's not too big of, like, a oh, shit moment. Especially because we just haven't really gotten to know these characters at all.
Right. What do you mean it's Troy? Like, the guy I never met in my life.
The only other name that's been mentioned. It's like how in the original Scooby-Doo's, like, the first person that they meet in the episode is always the bad guy.
Now that's a spoiler.
It's true.
He's only the bad guy if you don't believe in. I guess if you're like not a fan of tax evasion.
I think when I was a kid, I never saw any of it coming. I was like, oh shit, every time.
You mean it's not a ghost? Which is great because then Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, that TV movie, they actually they're like, no, it's witches and zombies. It's like,
they're real. They're just really bad at finding them.
Yeah, right, yeah. They are out there. It's just you're not in the right neck of the woods.
What I think was really unfair with a lot of those episodes is that they were always like, nah, it's just like mirrors. But it's like, this is a cartoon. Like, you can make a mirror do whatever you want it to.
I know.
The odds were against
them,
is what you're saying.
Yeah, it'd be like, or they'd have like an overhead projector, and it would be like a 3D ghost that had like a personality and spoke.
So one thing we didn't mention, this game's pretty hard.
Yeah, I didn't finish this either. I got to the sandy level, like the sandy boss on the waves
Planet
of sand.
3.
Yeah, where I was saying like, oh, this is cool. Like, now it's sort of demoted to like, now you gotta fight three of them. I think it was like it's actually the first boss of the first level, but now there's 3 of them. And between that stupid like snake shark thing that keeps jumping out of the sand and them having 3 of them, and the fact that the ground never stays level below you, I just couldn't do it. I tried several times.
Yeah, that's where I got to, and I am sort of bummed I didn't get a little further, because watching a little further, they introduce a mechanic that I think is very cool later in this sandy level, or in the sandy planet, where you're like swimming through sand, but there's also like platforming, so it's like you can fall slowly through quicksand and you're fighting, and I think that's just a pretty cool, like, all it is it's just making you fall really slowly, and you can jump up and whatnot, but it does feel like I don't know, it just feels like a different type of gameplay that we haven't seen before. It seems pretty interesting. I didn't experience it myself.
And at the very end of the game, after Troy lore dumps you, all that stuff about cytoplasm, you don't fight like what appears to be Troy, but I guess it's Troy in like in an alien suit. Like you fight this alien, it was a pretty tough boss as it is, and when you kill him, Troy's body was like inside of it and floats up into this like eldritch horror like version of like, now he's this blobby thing with like his giant face, and his hands just kind of come at you, and all these enemies are spawning, and it's not like to be honest, having not played it, it does look like the first part of the boss is probably harder than the second part, because it's mostly just about like dodging the enemies that he spawns and hanging onto the walls to shoot his face. But like, it's a pretty creepy ending, right? It's like he turns into this giant like cytoplasm-esque
Cytoplasm-esque.
Everybody knows what cytoplasm is now.
That's got to be the first time that word has ever been said.
Everybody knows what cytoplasm is. They would have told us otherwise. They would have explained what cytoplasm is. They felt no need to explain it at any point.
I love it.
And I guess we could do some Essential Games List-esque thing by doing the Essential Games List. I mean, I suppose I could have like talked about the fact that the Japanese version isn't like all in on the Street Fighter thing, and only the English version like heavily altered it to connect to Street Fighter, but that's not important, right? For our purposes on this show, we're treating it like a Street Fighter thing. But not for my Essential Games List vote. Actually, I was a little pleasantly surprised by this. I always heard this was like a piece of shit game. I didn't feel that. I felt like, spoiler, I'm not going to put it on the Essential Games List, but I feel like for anybody who's good at NES games, this is a like fun challenge to try. So like, this wouldn't be something I would recommend to gamers, but to like fans of the NES, I'm going to recommend this one, because while it was incredibly challenging and I didn't get as far as I would have liked, I think something about the moveset of Ken makes me believe that this is not like a unfair hard, but kind of like you got to put in the hours to get the work done. Now, I'm not saying it's as good as like a Castlevania level of challenge, right, where there's a lot of rewarding elements throughout. I think for the most part, the actual stage designs are kind of like whatever, and you have to just track down the target enemy as fast as you can and then deal with like learning how to fight them. But I think that's rewarding enough as somebody who like probably is reviewing this game to people who have already heard about it but heard that it was bad. And I guess I'm just kind of here to like course correct that a little bit and say it's not great, but it's kind of good. What do you guys think, Sean?
Yeah, like I said, like I immediately put the whole Street Fighter thing out of my head because it was going to do nothing but color it in the wrong way. And I'm pretty up on this game too. I think just getting around and, you know, doing backflips and crawling on stuff and shooting out of my foot, like it feels good. It is definitely really hard. I didn't finish it. I had fun. I don't know how much, like, I don't think I had so much fun that I would vote this essential. But, yeah, if this was just called 2010, The Final Fight, pretty good game. Not essential.
Yeah, I was very surprised also. I mean, this game does have a fun and distinct like vibe and feel to it, and I had a good time too. And I think if I got better at this game, I would enjoy it. But I do think overall the game design, while cool, falls short of what I would consider essential. So, you know, without repeating what you guys said, I think it's pretty cool, but I'm not going to put it on there. But I am looking forward to the next Street Fighter because I'm assuming it'll, you know, build on this concept and really bring it home. So I'm looking forward to all the future Street Fighters, which are going to be very similar to this game.
And one more thing about the Japanese version, I didn't mean to imply that it's not connected to Street Fighter at all. It's just that the English localization like went a lot further to like, so for instance, Ken is not in the Japanese version, but the game is called Street Fighter 2010 in Japan. It's just that they didn't like do the extra work of being like, well, people have to know it's like a follow-up to Street Fighter 1. It's like, no, it's just in the Street Fighter universe.
With no characters, plot, or anything to connect it.
Right. Or any future references.
Yeah.
So what's next for Street Fighter?
2011.
Street Fighter 2!
There you go. Yeah. We won't get it, but the Super Nintendo would.
You're already out on SNEStalgia?
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that eventually, but today doesn't feel like a good day.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, what do we got? Like 6 years or something? 7 years?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll start teasing it slowly for the next half a decade.